Well, Rusty, or should I say cigar man? Cigar man.
Don't have the cigar right now.
Don't have the cigar right, but
Yeah.
that's what you're known for.
Yep.
And I think you've been here every time I've been here.
I think that's fair to say, yes.
And rocking the same attire.
Mr. Gage, pleasure to meet you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Love your Buick. Love your Buick. And you look dashing today, I must say.
Well, I try. The car looks better than the owner. What can I say?
Beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I see the finish line.
But this year you brought a different car. You've got
Yes.
this 1910 Rio.
Correct. Yep.
So is this an official Speedwagon?
It is not a Speedwagon.
It is not a Speedwagon.
It predates the Speedwagon by a couple of years, but it is the same company that made the Speedwagon.
And it's REO.
Yep.
But those are initials.
They're initials for Ransom Eli Olds, who originally founded the Olds Motorworks in 1897 and then left in 1904 to found the REO Motor Car Company.
Yep. This has never been in the hill climb that I'm aware of.
It's its first year here. It was restored in the late 1970s or 80s, give or take, and had been in a museum for about 20 years. Had been non-running when I got it, and I got it running again specifically with the intent of getting it back out on the road and getting it here for the hill
And
climb.
up the hill.
And up
well,
the hill.
and that's why early this morning you were queued up, ready to go up there. And this thing runs like a sewing machine. I can't believe it. It's just
Befits the name of REO. REO Olds was an excellent automotive engineer. It's a fantastic car with the F-head engine, 225 cubic inches, conservatively rated at 30 horsepower. I'll say they're big horses, Clydesdale size.
Belgians.
Belgians, yes, Belgian draft horses.
Well, and you're kind of into this kind of vehicle. You're a horseless carriage guy.
Yes, I'm actually on the board of directors for the Horseless Carriage Club of America. We're the premier touring and preservation for pre-1916 automobiles. The club's been around since 1937 with the express purpose of preserving the history, sharing the history of these automobiles, but also getting them out and using them as they were intended as cars. So doing tours all over the country, doing events like this with the Newport Hill Climb, just getting the cars out into the public eye to see that, yes, it is I got to do the math in my head, 110 years old.
Carry the one,
Divide by two, 110 years old.
110 years old, and you rock it up the hill.
114, actually. See, I didn't even do the math right, but 114 years old.
So what was your time on the hill?
I believe I got about 56 seconds, which isn't bad given that this, again, I'm still doing some fine-tune work on this car, but the first time I went up the hill, there was a little bit of mechanical trouble that I went and made an adjustment and then came back and ran about 56 seconds up the hill.
Well, you know, for 114 some odd year car, that's pretty.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Typical of this era, these are heavy.
Yeah, heavy sheet metal fenders. It's all a wood body sitting on top of a metal frame and chassis.
Holy cow. And then a fairly, I would say, austere dash.
Hey, the minimum amount of gauge is required.
Now, is this a planetary transmission?
It's actually not. It's a 3-speed manual transmission.
Seriously? You mean like a really?
Like a regular 3-speed,
Wow.
other than the shift controls are on the left side, so you have to shift with your left hand as opposed to everybody being used to shifting with your right hand. But you have your standard controls with the clutch, you have the brake, and then the gasoline, and then right in the middle, from the factory, this car came with a cutout to open the exhaust right in front of the muffler. Gives it a little bit more horsepower. I also like to think that maybe sometimes people would use it to scare the horses on the road.
Exactly.
You know, just to cause a little bit of trouble.
Was this a Rusty mod here, or is that?
No, that's from the factory.
That's from the factory.
That's from the factory.
Because that thing is kind of naked otherwise.
It's right, and what it is it allows you just to have something to rest your foot against, because it is a real sensitive pedal, so it gives you a little bit more control as you're trying to modulate the throttle when you're shifting the gears.
Well, yeah, I see you drive it around and stuff. You're not pussyfooting around in this thing.
No, it's a car. It's usable as a car. It drives fantastically. It's got, most cars of this era had what they call a leather-faced cone clutch. This actually has a multi-plate clutch in it.
Oh, you mean more conventional?
More conventional style clutch. It shifts beautifully. Wonderful shifting transmission. It's just an excellent running car.
And this is the coil?
That's the coil for the ignition, yep. So don't lick any of the terminals on the bottom. You get a little tickle.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah. And is this a little storage area
Yep,
here?
a little storage area for tools. And I also, this car, I put some electronic lights on it. So my switch control panel for the lights is over there on the side. That was a father and son project we did this summer. So.
Wow. A couple extra spark plugs never hurts.
Yeah, carry a couple tools.
And would it be considered a touring car?
It is a touring car. So they sold 2 models this year. They had a 5-passenger touring, which this is, which is the Model R, and then they had a 4-passenger touring, which they called a Roadster, which was the Model S. And the difference is the seat's just wider in the rear. So the seat comes over the fender on the Model R and would be inset from the fender on the Model S.
It's interesting how the fenders flatten out. They don't curve on back around.
It was a little bit of a style choice, but it was also to help try to keep some of the mud when the top is down. You would keep some of the mud off of your top.
And wooden spoke wheels. So these are redone.
These were redone. Yes. Typically, it's a good idea to get them done because what happens is the wood dries out and then
brittle.
the spokes start moving and then things will actually start falling apart.
Yeah, that's what I saw earlier, and I mean that's a pretty engine.
It's a wonderful engine. It's 225 cubic inches. Again, as I said, they rated at about 30 horsepower, but we'll say Clydesdale horses.
Another updraft?
Updraft carburetor.
So this was cast. These 2 jugs were cast independently, right?
Yep.
In pairs. And I see you've got the primer cups. That's the choke in essence, right?
Essentially the choke for a really cold day. A little bit of raw fuel in there. You open the valve,
just
and
drops
it right in, makes it so much easier to start.
Do you ever leave those open to drop the compression too?
Not typically, because if it lights off, they're going to be
exciting.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Yep.
More exciting than you want it to be.
What I use it for is to help time the engine. If you have to make a timing adjustment, you open them up and it just makes it easier to crank over. But
yeah, exactly.
This car is actually, with the carburetor tuning I have on it, when it's warm, it's usually just about a half pull and it starts.
No kidding. Yep. Like I said, I saw it running. I just love these when you can see the lifters out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool.
Yeah. It's just a really sweet running engine. It really is.
It's a really sweet car all around, and you dig the hill climb because you're here every year.
Oh yes, I've been coming here for, I was doing the math, I think about 13 or 14 years, and it's just been such a fantastic event.
It is.
I mean, you can't go wrong. The cars are running, they're driving, seeing your friends, the wonderful town of Newport that puts this on for us. It's just
what's not to love.
Exactly.
Well, I love this 1910 REO Touring. Would it have another name?
Model R.
Model R.
Yep.
Good show.
Thank you, sir. A pleasure as always.
1927 Ford.